I think that awareness is key. And that's what I think birth brings is like a tremendous amount of awareness. And then you start to question things and then you understand like, okay, if I was able to do this way, how else can I do things in a more natural way? Or
Mm.
how has my life been impacted? Um, and how can I go back to the more traditional roots?
Welcome to the Rewire for Birth podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Cindy. I'm a naturopathic doctor and birth guardian, and I couldn't be more thrilled to have you here. This podcast is all about rewiring the way we think about pregnancy, birth, and postpartum by offering a holistic perspective that empowers you to embrace your journey with confidence and strength. Each week, I'll bring you expert insights, valuable advice, and inspiring stories to help you feel prepared and empowered. We'll dive deep into the transformative experience of bringing new life into the world and explore ways to make your birthing journey truly beautiful.
Please remember that although Cindy is a naturopathic doctor, she is not your naturopathic doctor. This information is made available to you for educational and informational purposes only and should never be used as a substitute for medical advice. Please see rewireforbirth.com/disclaimer for details.
On this episode of the podcast, we have Dr. Erica Grenci. Erica is a board-certified naturopathic doctor and master herbalist with a focus on detoxification and cellular regeneration, fertility and pregnancy, hormone balancing, gut integrity, and skin health and facial rejuvenation acupuncture. She believes in the innate healing power of the body and nature's wisdom in facilitating it. It's her passion to educate and empower others to take control of their highest state of wellness. She believes that food is medicine, plants are intelligent healers, and that we as a community can redefine the core of medicine to make true health accessible to everyone. Her additional training extends to functional medicine, specialized testing, advanced herbal studies, homeopathy, and traditional birthing. She currently practices full-time and produces all of the herbal medicine provided to her patients, as well as other naturopathic and herbal practitioners across Canada from her farm in Markdale, Ontario, through her company, Earth Spirit Medicine. She also custom formulates premium nutraceutical products. Can you tell that this woman knows her stuff? And the best part of this conversation, and I hope that this gets transmitted to all of your ears who are listening, is that Erica not only has this incredible depth of wisdom and breadth of knowledge, but she also practices what she preaches. So, with that being said, let's dive right in. Welcome, Dr. Erica Grenci, to the podcast. We have been, in the talks of making this happen for several months, and we're finally here. And I am so grateful for you to do this between patients. You are a mother of two as well, and you have a very full life. So much gratitude to you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I'm honored that you want to speak to me.
Yes, I would love to speak to you about so many things. I think we're very aligned on many levels. But before we get into that, I want to hear how your amazing children came into the world and what you took from those experiences, what it imprinted onto you, and how it has informed your parenting and also how you interact with your patients.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, birthing my kids was the best thing I feel that I could have ever done. I love chatting about my birth experiences. I mean, from the time I was pregnant with my daughter, my firstborn, I always knew I wanted a home birth. I was just more on that side of the spectrum in terms of feeling like this is a natural physiological process and I would rather just have the comfort of my own home. And of course, hospitals are very useful when they're needed, but most often, most of the time, it's just something that we are able to do. And we don't need much intervention at all, especially if there is none at the beginning of the birthing process. You know, all the stretch and sweep and I mean, induction, and we can get into that. But I was very intent on, okay, let me just do this as natural as possible. I did have midwives. That's who I knew about at the time. And I know now there's lots of great birth attendants out there, which are very helpful for a lot of outside of the system births. And it's whatever a person feels comfortable with. But for my birth with my daughter, I went just past 40 weeks. And I mean, the midwives were kind of getting a little bit nervous. And I ended up kind of just doing some active little workouts, and it kind of got things going for me, I feel. And when I went to bed one night, I felt, okay, maybe the beginnings of something, but I just kind of wrote it off, maybe Braxton Hicks still. And I just slept through the whole night very soundly, actually. And then when I woke up in the morning, I felt consistent cramping, you could say, but didn't feel intense, but it was very close together. I would say like I was timing them to be 20 seconds, 15 seconds apart even. And so I remember, the midwife saying, oh, you should call if it's under a certain period of time and this close together. I'm like, well, we're definitely there, even though I feel fine. My midwives, when I called, they didn't believe I was actually in labor. And she said, oh, we'll just come check you out. But she said that she thought she was going to leave. She didn't even bring up her medical bag. But when she reached me, I was already 8 centimeters dilated.
What?
And I was totally calm and nonchalant about it. And she made my husband run down and get her medical bag because she thought, oh, this baby's going to be here in 20 minutes. Yeah. And I was like, oh, cool, great. This is not as bad as I thought.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't know. There's something that changed with just kind of, and I don't want to blame the midwives. They were really great. They were just kind of telling me, oh, do this, do that. And I more so just wanted to be within my own space that was working for me for the start, like just kind of, it felt like I was going into almost like a meditative space. We started filling up the tub, or my husband did anyways. And at that point, it did start to get pretty intense. And yeah, I felt pain. I always wondered afterwards, was it because everyone was becoming more alarmed around me that kind of intensified my experience? Anyways, there's a lot to unpack, even just like philosophically. And then I had my friend showed up who was really great. She was there to document the whole process, and she was doing like hip squeezes and stuff. My husband obviously too, and he was there for moral support. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty quick. So within 4 to 6 hours, it was all like I birthed my baby. And I love that it did happen naturally because there were some potential red flags. Like when my water broke, there was meconium. That's when the midwives did get really nervous, said, okay, well, if you don't birth your baby within the next 20, 30 minutes, we will take you to the hospital. And I was just like, no. So I did essentially take that as a cue, and I birthed my baby pretty quickly after that.
Did it change like how you were moving through the experience? Like, did you push more or something?
Yeah, because I wasn't really pushing as much, or I don't know, I was just kind of breathing through things. I was pushing, but I was confused. It was my first birth. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing, to be honest with you. I was just kind of like, oh, it's just gonna happen, which it would. I would say it ended up being a beautiful home birth. There was no complications. And I thought, that was a great experience. Learning a little bit more, there are certain things that I would change now. Like, I feel like it could be, I had to constantly advocate for myself and say, no, you're not allowed to break my water. No, stop touching me. It was a little much. So I could see the difference between being able to just calmly birth my baby without anyone even talking to me. Because it's hard to make decisions when you're in that hormonal state. Even
totally.
There's different parts of your brain working. Like, you're not meant to really be thinking too much. You're more so just like being in a transcendental space of birth. So I've kind of dissected this in many ways, but I'm very thankful to the midwives and that I was able to have that home birth experience. But yeah, I would have changed things like don't pull on my baby's head, don't poke and prod me, so that's changed when I got more into learning about the traditional birth attendants. Now, fast forward 2 years later, I'm about to birth my son. Still didn't know quite enough yet. I did read a bunch of free birthing books. I thought I'll just call them if I need them.
Yeah.
So it was in the peak of COVID. I was at my sister-in-law's house because our place was under renovation. It was supposed to be ready, but it wasn't. So things were just kind of like all over the place. And I was like, well, I'll just birth right here. It'll be fine. And so that's what I did. And we ended up calling the midwives just in the last 20 minutes of the birth because I was just thinking, I don't know if my husband can catch the baby or if I could. I just felt a little bit, we need an extra set of hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also would make the other people in the house feel more at ease. Anyways, it was just, yeah, spur of the moment decisions. I don't think I went to any of my midwife appointments, as I think just one of them.
Throughout the
Yeah, it was
pregnancy.
a controversial time,
Oh,
right?
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
During
COVID.
COVID, and just
Yeah.
I felt more comfortable not wearing a mask in pregnant. There was a lot of things happening. Anyways, I barely saw them. They did come in the last 20 minutes. It kind of was a cascade in that last 20 minutes of,
Mm-hmm.
oh, let me break your water, make it go faster, even though I was already about to give birth. Oh, his heart rate, or we didn't know it was he yet. We didn't do any ultrasounds, but baby's heart rate's going down right after they broke my water. You need to urgently push this baby out in 2 minutes. Ah, okay. So I did. I did exactly what they said. And the cord was wrapped around his neck several times. They were trying to unwrap the cord as he was being delivered. And in my opinion, they didn't give him enough time for the blood to flow back into his body because he wasn't, I guess, like it didn't seem like he was coming to the moment he was born, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they were worried about him needing resuscitation. I think it was like a lot of lack of blood flow. And so they did cut the cord early and resuscitate him. Now I would say, oh, no, resuscitate him right beside me, right? Don't cut the cord. Like there's always things now in retrospect that I would change. So it was big learning experience for that birth as well. But who knows how it could have gone? I don't, right? I'm happy I have two healthy babies. And you can just see with my second birth, the moment that there's intervention, it does complicate things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Especially because it was in the last like 20 minutes,
I'm
right?
like, okay, you know what? Nothing can go wrong if I call you in the last 20 minutes. And then, yeah, I've had friends later on, or one friend in particular, like she just told them to wait in the hallway, the midwives. And I don't want to, degrade them in any way. They're beautiful. There's lots of brilliant, like midwives. They are bound to certain, like practices because they are regulated and everyone's scared when it comes to birthing. Nobody wants anything horrible to happen. So yeah, I can say, oh, maybe this would have been this way or this would have been that way, but I don't know. This is how it played out for me. But yeah, I'm happy I did the home births. I don't see it any other way. And several potential, severe complications were avoided and just handled at home, whereas maybe it could have been more drastic in a hospital environment. Again,
Yeah.
so yeah, if I did have a third, I have no idea. I would take in this knowledge with me and maybe things will be even more natural and untouched. That's everyone's dream, for it to just go as seamless as possible. Yeah, I feel great that I have these experiences and I do carry them with me. And when it translates to my practice, I always just tell people, you have options even just throughout their pregnancy, whether or not you get the glucose drink add into it, whether or not you do ultrasounds, it's your choice. And certain things become more warranted if you have red flags or if you have any signs that would warrant further investigation. I love just telling people that they have choices and they can be a big advocate in their own medical decisions.
Absolutely. I'm curious how the early postpartum period went for you.
And I should mention, like throughout this, I've always taken herbs in preparation for delivery for both my daughter and my son. I was on herbs that prepare the uterus to contract nice and efficiently and strong. And they do help with cervical dilation. And I think maybe that's why both my births were super quick. Like my son was only 2 hours, my daughter was barely 6.
Yeah, very
And
quick.
for the postpartum aspect as well, I did use a lot of herbal support from my adrenals and just like hormone balancing and just kind of helping with the smooth transition of not being pregnant. And I do think it made a big deal for mood and just quick recovery. And the fact that, okay, yeah, I didn't take any drugs, right? There was no epidural. And we know automatically that's a smoother recovery. And the less intervention, the better. But I did find that to be a big factor. I mean, I don't know any different because I've only had that support afterwards, but I would say, gosh, and I mean, now that thinking back, I may have stayed, I probably should have chosen to stay home with my baby for that 40 days. Like, how they say, oh, that protective space you should create. But I just felt so good and had so much energy that, I mean, with my daughter, I was working on the shopping channel 6 days postpartum. I did a segment and then I went to a wedding 13 days postpartum. I felt really good, but maybe I should have contained a more protective space. But it was in the middle of summertime too, like lots of energy. And with my son, I believe I went to go visit friends 3 days postpartum, and I just felt like myself. I was kind of
Wow.
out and about. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so it was really, it felt easy, which
Yeah.
I feel lucky about. Yeah.
Yeah, truly. But I think that's also a testament to how you've treated your body
Mhm.
even before conception.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, also like you pulled on like your plant allies, the herbs to support you throughout this experience. So the typical one that we use to tonify the uterus is red raspberry leaf tea. Is that something that you used? If you're listening to this podcast, you're already taking radical responsibility for the birth experience you truly desire. The problem is, most birth preparation still focuses on information instead of preparing your nervous system for the intensity of birth itself. Because when intensity rises, your body doesn't follow a plan, it follows what's already wired. Think about a ski hill or a snowboarding hill in my case. Once the tracks are carved into the snow, your skis or snowboard almost automatically follow them, even if you're trying to go a different way. Your nervous system works the same way. If your system is wired for tension, fear, or bracing, even at the subconscious level, that's the track your body will follow in birth. Not because something is wrong, but because that's what's familiar. Rewire for Birth helps you lay down new tracks. Through a neurophysiology informed approach, you're training your body mind to create pathways of safety, regulation, and trust so that when intensity builds, your system naturally follows those instead. Inside the program, you'll learn how to rewire your nervous system for birth, release stored fear and conditioning, especially that good girl conditioning, understand how birth unfolds in your body so you can work with it instead of against it, and stay connected to yourself, to your voice, and your power when it matters most. Because birth leaves a lasting imprint. And when that imprint is rooted in love, safety, and trust, it shapes how you enter motherhood and how your family grows. If you're preparing for birth and want to create new tracks, not rely on old ones, you can learn more at rewireforbirth.com or simply click the link in the show notes. I'll see you in there, mama.
Oh yeah, definitely. Red raspberry. I also consistently took nettle. We do make pregnancy tonics, which are nice, like for the entire pregnancy and supporting digestive processes, immune, hormonal. But the more intense herbs that I give around the 39-40 week mark are like your black and blue cohosh, and it's more for that cervical ripening and dilation.
Mm.
Herbs are huge allies, and I love their intelligence, right? It's so different from anything else. And I feel like plants are here to help us in so many ways. And it's just up to us to recognize them and accept them for us to kind of collaborate with in a sense.
Yeah, I love that approach. I love that philosophy because it becomes a partnership, a co-creation of your experience here on Earth rather than this like extractive relationship, which I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
And I love to get away from that idea that, oh, we're humans, we're top of the food chain. We just take everything, right, that we need. And that's not how it should be. We are supposed to be responsible caretakers of our planet, and we should only take what we absolutely need. And we should show such a strong respect and gratitude for everything that we do utilize from nature. Because yes, not only is it here for us to serve us, we're also here to serve it. And there has to be that reciprocal relationship. And you'll find that even the medicines or plant medicines that anyone takes, I do believe that they have stronger effects when we actually give gratitude for their healing power and we ask for its help, as opposed to just, oh, this is for this, just kind of like blindly take things. It's more so like develop a relationship with it, because even once it's been converted into like a tincture or a tea, it still maintains that energetic quality and that awareness. The plants
Mhm.
still have awareness.
Yeah. What a
Yeah.
beautiful way to see it. And I also think of like how much more receptive our bodies, our cells, our tissues are when we are inviting that in that way.
Yeah. And I believe the healing starts even before we take any medication or like plant ally or, yeah, I mean, I prefer no medication, but when I talk about medicine, I'm thinking the natural stuff anyways.
Mm.
But the healing starts with the belief and the
Absolutely.
readiness.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. I'm also very curious about how birth it transforms us. So I'd love to ask what shifted for you in birth, if anything, and how it informs your practice.
Well, I think through birth, it's such a beautiful awareness in what you're capable of
Mm-hmm.
as a woman and how we were meant to do this. And then you kind of look at how systems have changed and how this is, I mean, even throughout the years, like, okay, so birth was taken from, we started with midwives. Like it used to be your neighbor that came over to help you, or like the community healers, and they used to all gather and support a woman going through birth. And then how it kind of got stolen from these traditional ways and put into hospitals. They used to put women to sleep for those like twilight births, which was horrible, and like forcibly extract babies with vacuum and forceps. And there were so many things that went wrong. And you kind of just see how natural it's supposed to be. At the end of the day, the more that, yeah, you take care of your body and you do things in line with nature for most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, you could just do it at home on your own, right? And we see then also how that translates to other ways the system has impacted our lives. And I think that awareness is key. And that's what I think birth brings, is like a tremendous amount of awareness. And then you start to question things, and then you understand, like, okay, if I was able to do this way, how else can I do things in a more natural way? Or how has my life been impacted? And how can I go back to the more traditional roots?
Yeah.
And we can talk about, oh, like, how come the first thing that you do is just give babies Tylenol and Advil for fevers? And why does so many things just require an antibiotic without any recognition of how it can be so detrimental? Like, what are all the ways that we used to treat people without having these harsher medicines? And of course, there are times where they could be totally warranted, but how come we've just started giving these blanket prescriptions or just follow a medical standard of practice? I just think we need to question more and look back at the traditional ways. I feel like that's how it's really influenced me even more. I mean, I was already on that path, but it just becomes more prominent when you go through it.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, there's something about pregnancy and birth, and of course, postpartum that, like, yes, it shifts our brain as
Yeah.
women, as mothers. And so we begin to see the world in a little bit of a different way. But you get so connected to like your lineage, right? Like who came
Yeah, that's
before
true.
you and who's coming after you, because you've been a part of this chain, this process. And I think that's where so many of the big questions become, like, you get confronted with them as well. Like, oh, if like just following what is done conventionally doesn't actually serve me and my family, like where else am I following convention where it's not actually serving me, my family, and my community? So these big questions come into the field for, like, you said you're already on that path, you're already a naturopathic doctor, but I think for someone who isn't already on that path, we get confronted with these bigger questions on that journey.
And there's an element of like intuitiveness, which I think a lot of that we've been trained to shut off,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just blindly trust the authority figures in everything. And it's like, no, let's reawaken our own inner sense of guidance and guides and just what our body needs. Because anyone may be able to describe a time where they've just felt a strong feeling about something, and then maybe later on they found out that to be a huge guiding principle in what they needed at the time. So I think it's like honing back that inner vision that we all are capable of tapping into
Mm.
and allowing it to guide our lives a little more, as opposed to just following the herd, perhaps. And I think we're seeing that with the huge vaccine question, right? Or debate. And now that a lot of information is being released and studies that have been suppressed are coming out, people are more able to make informed decisions Whereas it's been such a lot of people's hands are tied. Even me as a naturopath, I can't really freely discuss it. I have to be so careful with my words.
Mm.
You know, I could really only say things like, I feel completely comfortable that my kids are totally non-vaccinated. And I feel like I do notice a difference in my practice with certain things. But yeah, not to get into that too much. I think we need to go back in a lot of ways to what our ancestors were doing. They were really smart and they were in tune with nature. And the more we can come back to nature, the more everything changes. Like you
Mm.
go for a walk in the woods, you feel your nervous system completely relax. That's for me, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
what
me
I
too.
feel. You walk barefoot, like we're seeing huge things come out in terms of the grounding practices. The fact that we have shoes that not only constrict our feet and have thick rubber soles completely disconnects us from the earth that we should be communicating with at all times.
Yeah.
Right. So when you start to put all these pieces together and we realize how, yeah, we've lost our ability to have this intuitive sense a lot of the time. It's interesting to see when you start implementing the more natural practices that have taken us away and you go back to those roots, how things might change for you on such a beautiful level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's simple. It's beautiful. Like it brings a level of enjoyment. Like it's nice to gaze at nature. It's nice to commune with it. Like it's there, it brings a sense of like joy and pleasure back into our body and our experience. And it's good for us and it's nourishing, and for me personally on like a mental, emotional, energetic level, I find when I just give myself some time in nature at the beginning of the day, every day, my whole day can shift. In the snow when I can't really put my feet on the ground, just like with my
You
bare
can do
hand.
like a Wim Hof
You can, yeah.
breathing.
I'm not that brave most mornings.
Do it after a sauna, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But if I just put like my bare hand on a tree,
Yeah.
then it shifts things as well. Like, so these like simple ways of getting that support and that nourishment that we need. Even going further out from an energetic level, like Mother Earth, like that maternal energy that sometimes we don't have access to. And that paternal energy from the sun and the
Mm-hmm.
sky, right? Like you can have what we need,
Mm-hmm.
which as a mother, we need to be mothered, we need to be parented as
Yeah.
mothers and cared for. And so if we don't have that, you can access that through nature still.
Absolutely. Even they've shown that just the people who are able to see more earthy colors like green and blue, how that impacts their mood, right?
Yeah.
Like we're meant to always be visually in contact with nature, physically, even sound, like the sound of birds, right?
Mm.
And they're chirping. Like it creates a response within our body to tell us that everything is safe,
Yeah.
right? And so we want to be around that as much as possible, or even just the sound of running water or a waterfall or a stream. These release negative ions, right? That positively impact our cells. So the more we can be around that, and I don't know if you ever noticed, like if you go to just, I don't know, camping or you go on vacation, you're just on the beach every day, or just in a totally surrounded space of nature, you kind of feel like there's so much less that you actually need.
Mm.
I think when we're cut off from nature and we live maybe deep in the city and it becomes more of a consumer culture,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, buy this, buy that, I need this, I need that. But whereas if you're in constant communication with nature, you already have everything you need all around you. And that just becomes so obvious.
Mm. So
Right.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
There
things
is this abundance in nature.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That we might be trying to fill with our Amazon cart when we're not connected to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty,
Yeah.
you know, but it's great to just be aware and even see, okay, like, am I being excessive in certain areas? Am I collecting abundance or clutter,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What is abundance? Abundance is being able to live that life where you can do these things, right? Enough.
Mm.
Abundance for me is, yeah, being able to take my kids outside as much as I can, give them that relationship with nature and teaching them things and being with them. And yeah.
Yeah. Teaching different priorities. I think when you are connected to Mother Nature, you're connected to yourself as like, the mother with a capital M. You want to pass on values that like are aligned with who you are and what you feel is important. And excessive consumerism, I don't think is aligned with our values, especially as naturopathic doctors. It's all about going back to nature.
100%.
I'd love to hear. So, you've obviously been in this world for a very long time. And so, even preconception, you've walked a certain path, you've treated your body a certain way. But I'm curious how you support your patients when it comes to preparing for birth, as far as endocrine health, gut health, living a low tox lifestyle, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, this is a big topic that I love. I'm so passionate about it because I used to live a very toxic lifestyle.
Mm.
I grew up on, oh gosh, I mean, my parents didn't know better what's healthy versus not healthy in a grocery store. They kind of just laid it all out there. It doesn't come with a warning label of all these terrible ingredients, which are worse now, mind you, than when I was younger. But yeah, everything from diet, all the foods that we're eating, making sure there's no food dyes, no preservatives, no refined sugars, inflammatory seed oils. We don't want any of that. In my opinion, it's poison. And I love giving people alternatives because I don't want anyone to ever feel like, oh, you're just not living your life, right? That's not the case at all. You're living a better life, higher quality of life, right? If you, let's say, okay, maybe you like to eat chocolate chip cookies. It just depends on the ingredients that are in there. You can make them with coconut oil, almond flour, dates, pure maple syrup, cacao, as opposed to like that cocoa mass. You can make it something that's actually healthy for you as opposed to causing a lot of inflammation and detriment to your body. So these conversations are hugely important when it comes to preparation for fertility. And I basically ask all the questions in terms of, okay, where do you get your animal products? Are you eating wild or farmed fish? Are you getting grass-fed and grass-finished meats, or are they on a grain diet? Is your chicken and eggs pasture raised, or are they caged and, injected? And like, what are the health conditions for the animals that you're consuming? Because that's going to directly translate into the health of your body because you're consuming them, right? So that's an important question for the animal products. And then, is your water clean? If you don't have access to a spring, do you filter your water? Because we know that city water has lots of heavy metals, has fluoride, has all these unfavorable elements that if we're not cleansing out of the water before we drink it, it's just more of a burden to our own body.
And pharmaceuticals get in there as well.
100%, right? So it's like, what are all the things that we're exposed to just based on drinking tap water, right? I think that's one significant change, I find for a lot of families. And it's not get a Brita because that doesn't filter enough, in my opinion. It's like you kind of need a reverse osmosis grade system that is for sure filtering out everything or almost everything. Right? Yeah. So having a clean water, clean air. What's in your home? Do you have fragrances that are chemical laden? And it's something that can be in almost every product, like cleaning products, your shampoo, conditioner, your body lotion, your soaps, your laundry detergent, your laundry dryer sheets, which also can contain formaldehyde. Definitely, if you had any air fresheners or the car fresheners,
Ugh, the worst.
At what point does it end, really? And then if you're also spraying it on yourself, I mean, these are horrible endocrine disrupting chemicals that wreak havoc on your system, are disrupt, like even beyond hormones, they are carcinogens. They are super inflammatory. They will be changing your cells. They're maybe even giving you allergies and respiratory issues. They've said fragrance is akin to secondhand smoke. So even if it's not your household and you're just around someone who sprayed all these chemicals on themselves, it's so potent. And if you're someone that doesn't wear them, you'll probably smell it in a much harsher way because you're used to a cleaner lifestyle and you could see what it's doing. You may even get a headache. Right?
Yeah. I get a little bit of nausea if I am around someone with a lot of perfume or cologne.
Oh, even if I go into an Uber and they have those little tree air fresheners, it's very difficult for me.
Yeah.
I definitely have to have the windows down, even in like the coldest day of winter, you know? And I wish that this was just public awareness. I wish that these companies didn't make such horrible products because,
Yes.
it's not to blame people, for buying what they think is good for them. Hopefully the awareness will be cultivated and hopefully the companies will change. But that comes down with, our voting dollar, right?
Hmm.
Where we're putting our money. So essential oils are a great alternative, not fragrance oils, essential oils,
Yes.
because there's
Yeah.
so much greenwashing out there, right? So I'm constantly inspecting products and labels and just understanding ingredients. I think one of the best things that anyone can do from themselves and their family is just learning how to read a label and understanding what goes into things, or just having a trusted person to help them figure that out, right?
Yeah.
And I love when people come at me with questions like, can I have an alternative for this? There's always going to be a healthier alternative to any,
Hmm.
right? I don't think there's one toxic product in my home at this point. And I feel so good about that because I used to have all those things. I grew up with spraying myself in, I don't know, everything. I don't know how I'm living to this day with all the stuff I used to put on my skin and inhale. And you just think, hey, this is how you should smell. This is what everyone's doing. I want to be pretty. I just want to
Yeah.
fit in even.
Especially as girls, there's that like extra pressure, right? To put goop, toxic goop on your face all the time.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And all the makeup.
Yeah.
My goodness. Right. So,
Mhm.
and I mean, healthy looks beautiful.
I
Do you
always say that. I'm like, you know what never goes out of style? A
know?
healthy body that never goes out of style.
Exactly. Because then
Mm.
you're not covering up maybe acne from all the toxicity,
Mm.
right? Or like your skin should be naturally glowing. And yeah, it's okay. Put some plant pigments on your cheeks. And, I love a little lip tint, but natural. We
Yeah.
can do this in a natural way,
Yeah.
right? But there's a lot of stuff that we've absorbed through our skin. Our skin does absorb 70% of what we put on it. It has to be processed later through our liver and our kidneys, and we do have to detox it at some point. And it gets to a point where our detoxification organs become so overburdened that we struggle in so many ways, right? And it does come out through, brain fog.
Mm.
Um, Other skin conditions, not just acne. Maybe you have eczema, maybe you have psoriasis, maybe you are just prone to rashes, hives. There's a big histamine response. That's your liver struggling, right? So we have to make all these connections and understand that these changes are essential. Otherwise, we're constantly dealing with these sorts of issues.
Hmm.
And it's only our body speaking to us, right? Just saying, hey, help me out over here. And the more we ignore this call to action, the stronger the signals get.
Yeah, absolutely. Until you can't ignore them anymore.
Right. And it's horrible to say, but this is where the more severe diseases come into play, where cancers and, yeah, just lots of different chronic diseases present themselves. But it's not that we can't reverse these things. And I can't come on here and say that I could heal anything. Everyone should be responsible for their own healing.
Hmm.
The possibility exists, and we have to understand how we got to a place like from the get-go, how it
Yeah.
all started.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. It's putting together so many of the puzzle pieces, especially on this program when people are interested in becoming pregnant soon or they are pregnant and they're preparing for birth, getting into the postpartum period. Like these things matter. Like a healthy birth, healthy conception, a healthy birth starts with a healthy body. And if we can just, remove things that might be impacting our body in negative ways, then our bodies are so resilient, so resilient. Like you said yourself, I don't know how I'm living with the stuff I was spraying
Oh,
on myself, right? Our
yes.
bodies are crazy resilient. We just have to remove these blockages.
Hi, this is Melissa, co-creator of the Rewire for Birth program. Let's face it, birth can be unpredictable, but feeling scared, powerless, disconnected, or unprepared doesn't have to be part of the experience. Rewire for Birth is a transformative approach to birth preparation that blends education, nervous system support, movement, mindset, and breathwork to help you feel grounded, informed, and deeply connected to yourself and your baby throughout the journey. So when decisions come up, sensations intensify, or things change, you're not meeting these moments from a place of fear or panic, but from understanding, trust, and connection to yourself. Because birth is just one moment in time, but the way you experience it stays with you forever. So I invite you to start rewiring today at rewireforbirth.com. Rewire your mind, reclaim your birth.
100%. And back to, like the question of like how important this is in pregnancy, they found so like countless number of toxins in cord blood.
Mm-hmm.
We are passing stuff to our children. And they always say, pregnancy is a pretty big detox. We don't want it to be that way. We
No.
want it before we get pregnant. We want to be living this lifestyle for as long as possible before we go to conceive. And then fertility becomes easy when all these elements are in place. We have no reason not to be fertile. So that's why I even love the fertility conversation, because I see people become their healthiest version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then hopefully they carry this through for the rest of their lives, because I think fertility is usually a sign that, hey, your body needs support in some way. What can we change? How can we help you become balanced again? Right. What doesn't belong? And it's empowering, as opposed to, just inject yourself with hormones. It doesn't work that way, in my opinion. Right. I mean, yeah, IVF can be very helpful for people, but your body should be able to also do this on its own.
Absolutely. It is empowering. And then those parents are more likely to pass that on to their children. So this is, for the individual, but it is also generational work. Like my daughters already, they see a commercial for Febreze, and my 7-year-old is like, I mean, that sounds nice, but it's toxic, right, Mom? I'm like, yes, baby girl.
Naturopathic kids. I know. Yes. Mine too. Yeah. The question, is that healthy? No, it's not. That doesn't look healthy. You're right.
No, it sounds nice. And the people are very happy with those commercials, but it's actually not good for us. Yeah. I think this conversation also needs to weave in community and support.
Yeah.
Just because I've noticed personally before having kids, how it was very meticulous with all of these things, right? And then bam, after I had both my kids, suddenly so many of my parts of my support system had fallen away, kind of tragically. And I was left being like, oh, okay, so this is not a conversation. Like, it is a conversation about personal decision making and priorities and values, but it's also a conversation about who is supporting the family unit, because it is so much bigger than just the mother doing all this on her own. It is more like, how is the family supported? How is the community supported? So that health just becomes the byproduct. It just is. But unfortunately, that's not the society we find ourselves living in.
Yeah. And the more we can come back to that community way of living, the better. That's how it used to be traditionally, right? All the kids would play together in these little communities, and the wives would support each other, and there would be this camaraderie, and like maybe the men were out doing the hunting, and everyone just has their way of helping each other. Even just, when a woman is on her period, they used to call it the red tent, and the women on their periods would gather, and this was a time of rest and introspection. And we're not supposed to always be that go, 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 get stuff done kind of society. We should allow time for this sort of intuitive work to be done at the same, time. And that's how we grow spiritually too.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just about productivity. It's about growing ourselves in other ways as well.
Yeah. Evolving. Totally. Working with our biology is deeper than just having healthy biology.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. So I assume in your practice that you see a lot of the results of maybe that lack of support, that lack of community that we're talking about, or lack of being able to detoxify. And so in postpartum, that comes out as so much autoimmune disease,
Yeah.
hair loss in the postpartum period,
Mhm.
which some of it is natural because we tend to lose less hair throughout our pregnancy. But I'm curious what your approach is to that and how you can support patients and clients.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so, okay, through pregnancy, we have a lot more estrogen, right? And this helps to keep our hair even more full and thick and just, yeah, gorgeous.
Luscious.
Then as soon as we give birth, we have more of a drastic drop in our estrogen. And then by the time hair loss becomes evident, it's around the 3, 4 month mark. However, in practice, I do find that if you're supporting someone, a woman, through her, like boosting her adrenals, which really get taxed the most throughout
Mm,
pregnancy, and even through pregnancy, supporting them and making sure diet is good and all the right nutrients are being received and assimilated. I do often run blood work if there's a potential concern around excessive hair loss, looking at iron, B12, vitamin D, complete thyroid panel. All of these things would be influential for hair as well. But I find the herbs work really well in preventing hair loss. And
mm.
I see it again and again. So it's just having the right nutrients, potential plant allies. I mean, as much rest as you can get. I know that's hard. It's not easy to tell a new mom to rest. But, there's a lot of ways we can increase our resilience to this stress of lack of sleep. And so, yeah, I do find that there's a lot you can do for postpartum hair loss.
Yeah, yeah. I find nettle is one of those herbs that can
Mm,
really, because it's so iron rich and so nourishing in so many
yeah,
ways.
nettle is one of my favorite nutritive herbs.
Me too.
Yeah, but a lot of the adaptogenic herbs like
Mm,
ashwagandha, sandra, shatavari, I find these to be very helpful.
yeah.
I add some seaweed usually just for that natural iodine, some fucus. So yeah, I usually give blends and I find they're really nice supportive elements postpartum.
Yeah. And that must make the experience of postpartum and the experience of being a mother in that phase so much yummier, right? Like
It felt like
getting
my
out.
lifeline. Like I
Yeah.
really loved, and I'm grateful that I had those available to me. But
Mm.
I find like it made a big difference for me at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I just find it unfortunate that this knowledge isn't commonplace.
Yeah,
So I'm happy that we're having this conversation so that mothers and families know what options are out there. And as I always say, like pull in on your support network, pull in your community, your friends, your family, hired help within budget so that it doesn't feel like such a taxing time in your life.
absolutely.
Erica, with the time that we have left as we wrap up, I'm going to ask you my last question. And I always preface it with saying that there is such a profound imprint that takes place when a new life is entering this three-dimensional reality that we all inhabit.
Mhm.
And it can be an imprint of love and safety and trust. These are all signatures of oxytocin. It's like this big welcome party for this new life. Unfortunately, what happens in about 45% of cases is that it's an imprint of mistrust, it's an imprint of protection mode and survival mode and of fear.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's a lot that we can do to repair. But one of the missions of this podcast is why repair when we can prepare for this
Mhm.
experience? And when enough mothers, enough families are supported in this way, we're going to be raising a whole generation that is moving through the world from a place of love and safety and trust. And I think when that happens, we'd be looking at a very different world.
I agree.
So that is all my preamble of asking you, what would you like to imprint onto the ears of the listeners? It's a lot of new moms, a lot of families preparing for birth. It's also a lot of women who want to use their womb space, creative life force energy to birth something beautiful into the world, a mission led business, a creative endeavor. What would you like to imprint onto their ears?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I believe that your mind is one of your most powerful allies. And if we can keep a positive mindset, full of gratitude, and I believe from there, like we can really lead and attract the lives that we wish and what we wish to birth, and we can stay full of health and vitality. I believe perspective and awareness really allows us to make the choice between the way we view our circumstances even, and we can turn something that was potentially even very negative into a beautiful outcome with maybe how we help others. And I think it's always finding that growth and silver lining and even being in the present and grateful for that, and how we can, make the best of all of the moments in our lives and how to move forward and be the light in the world. Right? And I think the more that we do that, the more we attract that as well. And we can maybe align with the best communities that they can feel the same, and you can always feel supported.
Absolutely. Wise words, Mama, wise words.
Oh.
Erica, if people want to work with you, they're curious, they really liked what they heard in your approach to health and vitality and holistic approaches, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I have a booking link, drericagrenci.jnet.com. I should have a website. I mean, I've been practicing for 8 years. And I mean, like, gratefully enough, I haven't needed a website. I have a very active Instagram, but my husband promises to finish my website one of these days. So there could be more information there too. But right now there's my booking link, and I could be found on Instagram.
Amazing. We're going to put those in the show notes. So if anyone is curious, they can access it easily. And again, so much gratitude to you for taking the time to do this between patients while you're a mom of 2 and all the amazing things that you do. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. And thank you so much as well. I had a great time.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Rewire for Birth. We hope you found our discussion inspiring and empowering. If you enjoyed the episode, we would greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help us reach more listeners and spread the message of holistic, empowered birth experiences. Feel free to mention what you loved about today's episode and how it helped you feel more prepared and confident about your birthing journey. Your feedback not only encourages us, but it helps other moms-to-be find our podcast and join this incredible community. Together, we can make a positive change in the world of birth. Until next time, stay empowered and keep rewiring for birth.